The King is at it once again. Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Welcome into First Take. We got ourselves a crew this morning. Swagoo, Marcus Spears, my girl, Miss Monica McNutt. I'm Charlie Arnold, Dominic Foxworth joining us in just a bit. So, guys, safe to say we've got some pretty good strength in numbers here, would you say?
I think so.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
Well, speaking of numbers, LeBron James showing that age ain't nothing but a number, because last night the 36-year-old superstar became the youngest player in history to score his 36,000th career point as the Lakers snapped a 5-game losing streak against the Rockets. The King showed out with a triple-double. Russ had one of those too. And not only that, but last night LeBron making his first career start as a center, even snagging that opening tip, showing off. Okay, the man, he keeps showing he can do it all. So, Marcus, what statement did LeBron make last night?
He continued a statement that I was already over the hill on. He's the greatest basketball player I've ever seen. And
Greatest.
I know that this argument goes all over the place, but to me personally, LeBron is the greatest. And what it really boils down to is not only how his game has evolved, but the journey it took to get there as an individual player. We talked about him not being able to shoot, so he went and became a better shooter. We talked about his post game. He went and became a better post player. He implemented things about his game, about his career, and he continued to get better at a time where he was already the best in the game. So the level of respect I have for the amount of work that he put in, even after being considered the best player in the NBA, the ability to go to franchise. See, this is the thing we miss about LeBron. We talk about super teams, and we talk about how he created those, but those teams don't do much after he leaves. I don't think it's a coincidence. I just think it's LeBron James being a part of those rosters. So for me, as I'm 38 years old, and I know that the Jordan era, and I know people will fight tooth and nail for MJ. LeBron James is the best basketball player I've ever seen in my life. And I consider him to be the best basketball player ever.
Monica's not convinced.
Spears. Listen, Charlie, this argument
this not new.
Agonizing. It's not new. It's not new. And it's absolutely agonizing. I personally am not ready to go there. Is LeBron James possibly the best athlete I've ever seen in a basketball uniform? Is he maybe one of the most important catalysts of time in terms of his ability to take championships with him? Yes, but I still think that in a sport that is still largely quantified by your ability to go and win the Larry O'Brien trophy, I'm not ready to cede the throne from MJ just yet. I think you cannot have this conversation in a vacuum, because you have to acknowledge the different eras that we're talking about. And yes, LeBron James is
100%.
His 37th birthday, and that is an absolute feat in and of itself, the things that he's still able to do at this age. But I think it's still the rings for me. And that may be an antiquated argument for some, but I still think that is the tentpole in terms of how we are going to measure success. Because even take LeBron, Kobe, guys that got rings out of the conversation, our favorite dig, to Chuck, is that he doesn't have one. And so I still think the rings hold the most importance to me in this conversation.
See, the subscription to that, Mon, is always my issue, because you know the arguments, you know the Bill Russell arguments, you know the number of rings that guys have. So, and look, to your point about generation, okay? My dad would tell you that Kareem the best basketball player he's ever seen.
This is true.
So like when we construct this whole argument, or when we start talking about these guys, we are talking about the elite of the elite. We splitting hairs, we separating very microscopic things when it comes to these guys. The thing that gives me the push, and this is my argument. This is not to argue with anybody. The way you look at basketball, the way you deem the best you ever saw, is based on your experience and what you like as a basketball player. When I look at LeBron, I look at a guy. Yeah, I look at a guy that spans across all 5 spots on the floor, Mon.
Yeah.
I look at a dude that literally has promoted and produced the careers of guys that we wouldn't consider to be high-level NBA basketball players when it comes to contract situations and their ability to go deep in the playoff runs. And also, man, like a big thing for me, and other people may not equate this to him being the greatest ever. We all have to acknowledge that the dude was 18 when he became the face of a franchise and was able to live up to that for his career. Like, I'm not talking about a few years. His career, he's still, to your point, he's still playing. Like, he lived up to that from day one. And Monica, everybody get mad at me for saying this, but we can all agree. You and I, or Perk or Charlie were not checking for the Cleveland Cavaliers until LeBron James went there. Nobody was.
100%.
Y'all know me. Y'all know I'm a huge basketball fan. So I have a lot more than just, obviously he's accomplished everything on the court. But I look at a lot of the intangible things as well. I'm not even talking about off the court, what he's done in the community. I saw this dude, man, you remember this. I saw this dude guard Derrick Rose in a series, and then followed that up by guarding Kevin Garnett in a series. Everybody brings up the Mavs. Everybody brings up he disappeared against the Mavs. Fine, it was a terrible series. You know he almost averaged a triple-double in his worst. That's the worst moment people can find in LeBron's career. And he almost averaged a triple-double in that playoff series. So I look at the dude and I think to myself, we've never seen it before. Never seen this kind of basketball player before, and maybe we don't know how to place him, but he stands alone.
Okay, so LeBron's already been playing for 19 years. He just said it this week. He doesn't see another 19 years left in his career. So he is, on the second part of his career. But Monica, still lots of time for him to accomplish what he needs to. So what would another championship on his resume do for you in terms of this argument?
I think we're there, Charlie. Like, then I have no argument. And again, I admit that the rings is a little bit antiquated. And maybe I'm a purist and have watched too many Michael Jordan tapes and all that with my dad and really kind of studied the game in that regard. Because everything Swagoo said is right? I honestly, this is probably the worst debate ever, in that LeBron is doing things that we have never seen. But I still think that when you set out to play NBA basketball, the bar remains the Larry O'Brien Trophy. And I think it is also,
no doubt.
Again, I mentioned the difference in errors. I wonder, now listen, the camp that thinks LeBron wouldn't have been able to play during Mike's era, they are tripping. Because I think he absolutely would have, because of his body, because of his basketball IQ. It would have been something different, but I think he would have been just fine. However, I am still willing to acknowledge some of the rules changes that have benefited offense over the years and the way that Michael had to go about achieving his talents and some of the powers that be that he had to go up against in order to be successful. So if he got it, Charlie, then I have no argument at all.
All right, so last night, his 36,000th career point. He now is only 928 points away from catching up with Karl Malone, the only other player to score that number of points in his career. So he is not too far off. But we have some other good news to talk about because the Big Three in Brooklyn is back. Well, at least soon enough. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving have both cleared COVID protocols, with Durant set to return sometime this week. And Kyrie, he's still TBD. Remember, he still can't play at home because of New York City's COVID protocols. And Steve Nash says Kyrie's going to need some time to ramp up regardless. So for now, the team is eyeing the Nets outing in Indianapolis on January 5th for that return. So look, the Nets already on top in the East. So Monica, was it the right decision to bring Kyrie back?
Man, listen, I am not naive to think that when you are in a certain echelon of the game, you are given some credence that everybody else is not given. But to me, this sets a bad example for the Nets organization, the rest of their players, and of course, I know that the NBA is not necessarily tasked with being the moral compass for society, but I also think it sends a bad message to fans. We are assuming that everybody else on that roster was willing and excited about getting vaccinated, and no one else felt like, I have to do this because of my job. And now exceptions are being made for Kyrie. Again, not going to be naive to the fact that he is an elite talent in this league. However, to me, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth as a teammate. And honestly, and Swagoo, you know this, as a competitor, as a member of the Brooklyn Nets, all you want is the opportunity to play basketball, to earn your spot in practice, to earn your spot in valuable game minutes. And now if I have anybody else other than Kyrie and obviously KD or James Harden, my minutes are compromised depending on whether I'm trying to play in a home game versus a road game. To me, it just it is not fair. The one thing that I enjoy about sports, for the most part, outside of referees that botch it on occasion, is that the rules are the rules, and they apply to everybody. Yeah. And this bend and flex of the rule, to me, I don't like it. I don't think that this was a good decision.
Well, Mon, listen, we can have our moral conversations, and I'm right in line with you based on that, because the Nets actually brought that type of energy about we just gonna wash our hands with it and we'll play the season as currently constructed. So they went back on it. But you said the most important thing. We all know that we ain't operating on that plane anymore when it comes to sports. Listen, I cover the NFL more than anything, and the league has tried to be clean while doing dirty things, allowing guys to play that shouldn't be on the field. Look, your talent, America, Monica, Charlie, y'all know this. Your talent gives you a lot of leverage and a lot of leadway. And Kyrie is considered and is considered one of the top 75 players of all time, okay, with his ability and the things that he can do. So the Brooklyn Nets sat here and they said, okay, we looking at a season with KD and James Harden. That's a lot. Like, that's a lot. That's enough for you to have a successful team based on how they're doing in the East right now, balling out of their mind. But they're talking about a championship. And Mom, when you push, when I watched all of you guys before the season started, and I was as excited, I was hoping for a Lakers and a Brooklyn Nets, both teams healthy finals. Don't look like we gonna get that because the Lakers ain't holding up their damn end of the bargain. But bringing Kyrie back is nothing to the Brooklyn Nets but more solidification that they'll end up in the finals. That's the only thinking that they have. It ain't about more. Like, because if the Brooklyn Nets really was serious initially about Kyrie Irving, they had all of that information. What were they mulling over in the beginning? They knew he wasn't vaccinated. They knew the situation that was happening in New York, and they came out after a while of deliberation and made this strong, firm statement that we just not going to have Kyrie be a part of the team. But we all know as that season goes along, and this playoff picture starts taking form and teams start realizing who each other are, we start figuring out things. I done saw COVID has been ravaging the NBA. I done seen 10-day contracts flying out the window. Man, I thought they was going to call me. I thought they was going to call me to give me a 10-day contract. I was waiting on the phone. But the bottom line is,
I was waiting for the call.
Right, Charlie? But the bottom line is Kyrie's talent is the reason why Kyrie is back. And also the Brooklyn Nets are in, I'm sorry, fans. The Brooklyn Nets are a business. And that business is benefited by winning games and winning championships. And ultimately, we have to reshift our mind, because sometimes it pains me and it boils my blood with certain situations evolving around things when we talk about morals. But I've seen it enough not to get in my feelings anymore about these teams compromising and relenting and going back on things that they previously believed because it was convenient and easy to say at the time.
Well, I'm sure they're probably feeling pretty good about their decision, too, now that the CDC released new recommendations shortening the isolation period. They're probably like, oh, well, it's no big deal anyways now.
Yeah.
Something
like that.
Okay, well, let's also look at the East in general right now.
Just tired. Just tired.
Every day we wake up and it's something different. What are you supposed to do? Marcus, you think the Nets are now the favorite in the East? They're number one right now, but you think down the stretch it's going to remain that way? Especially with Kyrie coming back?
Yeah, but it's hard because I do. I think that talent, and then to what scope, like how fast does Kyrie get going? We know what he does and how he changes the dynamic on the basketball court. When you talk about putting points on the board, like the Nets can just outscore you. We don't laud them for great defense, but I think they'll play it well enough in order to get through the East. Now, here's what I will say. The Milwaukee Bucks sitting there with championship pedigree. The Bulls are playing with DeMar DeRozan having one of his best seasons ever. It's not going to be easy. The 76ers with Joel, and seem like they're finding kind of where their stride is. But right now, a team constructed with James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving coming back, they have a presence underneath the basket. They have Patty Mills who can knock shots down in clutch situations. So I think the Nets right now are the favorite.
Monica, what do you say?
Swagoo, I love your analysis there. Patty Mills is playing great basketball. I would agree with you, except I think you cannot cheat the process. And I think that the half-game deal is not going to benefit the Nets ultimately. And so I think that the Bucks are poised to repeat coming out of the East. Their ability to defend, I think Giannis Antetokounmpo continues to get better, as do the pieces around him. Now, their health is going to be imperative. I believe there's something like 11-2 when they have the big three on the floor. But everybody in that Bucks organization, if you listen to the way they talk about Giannis, he hasn't even reached his peak yet. A lot of folks feel like when he truly can slow the game down, then he's going to be even more of a monster. And so I think the Bucks are poised to run it back. It's going to be close. It's going to be real close. But I think the Bucks get the nod because of continuity all year.
All right, Monica, well, thank you so much. You're going to be back with us in just a bit, because now we transition from one Bucs team to another Bucs team, this one being in the NFL, where injuries are plaguing Tampa Bay. The Bucs pulling off a win against the Panthers Sunday to clinch the NFC South for the first time since 2007. This thanks in large part to the Tom Brady AB connection. Antonio Brown playing for the first time since October 14th, quickly emerging as Tom Brady's top target, finishing with a game-high 10 catches for 101 yards. Okay, you can see here we have a lot of members of the team out due to, COVID purposes, injuries. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Leonard Fournette, Giovanni Bernard. So right now, Tom Brady doesn't have many of his targets. Already, he's having to improvise a bit. So with that being said, can Brady count on AB as the focal point of the Bucs offense? And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we also bring in Mr. Dominique Foxworth. So, Dominique, why don't you start this off?
I'm sorry, Charlie. I'm sorry to stop you, but I had to stop you right when you got to that point. Do you trust AB? Anything you say after that, it does not matter.
Good point.
Frankly, it does not matter. The answer is no. It should be no. I don't know what Marcus is going to say, but I suspect, since they have us on opposite sides on the screen with you in the middle, that somehow Marcus is going to fix his lips to say that someone should trust AB in some sort of way. I'm sorry, Charlie, to interrupt. I just wanted to make sure that it was very clear.
It's fair. It's fair.
Nothing that comes after "do you trust AB" matters. The answer is no, Marcus. You agree, right?
Are we talking on the field or off the field?
Not at all. Don't agree. Because I wasn't thinking in terms of Dominique Foxworth, the writer, the astute student, the Harvard grad. I wasn't thinking about all of that. I'm thinking about football, damn it, Foxy. And AB on the field, yes. The answer is yes. He's a Hall of Famer when it comes to actually playing football. Now, you talking about getting to the field. Now, I agree. If I would have took the question in that context about is he going to be available, but I didn't know we were under the impression that we was talking about availability. On the field, AB is a primary target. He's a number one guy, and we've seen time and time again AB come off of having one of his episodes and then balling out, like after not playing any football. So can he be the primary weapon to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers getting to the Super Bowl? Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there is no argument against AB's ability. But the unfortunate thing is, and more now than ever, the off-the-field decision-making matters. It matters to his availability. It matters to everything. I would be very nervous. They don't have a choice right now, frankly. And AB is a good emergency break glass in case of emergency plan. Yes, AB is in a glass case. And right now, they have enough injuries that they got to shatter that glass and go out there. But I promise you, don't nobody feel comfortable about it. They all doing it because that's the best thing you heard what Bruce Arians said. Like, we're doing what's best for the team. Like, they feel like they owe it to everybody else who is working this hard to give them the best opportunity to win. AB needs to be out there. Yeah, but ain't nobody feeling comfortable about it because for all those other hours that he is not on the field, you have no idea what he's up to and what that and how that will impact this roster going forward, and whether he's going to be available for any of the numerous poor decisions that he could potentially make. So I don't know. You don't have a choice. If I was in that situation, I understand. I would probably put him out there too. If he was already on the roster and all of his hurt, go it out there. But I wouldn't be happy about it.
Well, telling the truth ain't never hurt my feelings, and you are absolutely speaking the truth about all of the extenuating circumstances. But on the field, if he's available, he can make you a legit Super Bowl contender and be a primary weapon. That's the question, Foxy.
Well, yeah, and the important thing here, Tom Brady seems to trust him despite his many setbacks throughout the course of his career. And as of right now, that seems to be
apparently that's all it takes, Charlie,
in the Bucs organization. Okay, guys, we still have a lot more on First Take coming up. The first question is, what slump? Because Dak went off last week, but Marcus, he's still left wondering who the real best team in the NFC is. Isn't that interesting? Plus, the latest on Carson Wentz. How long will he be out considering he's unvaccinated? Now, there are new protocols, but we'll have more on that shortly. But before we do go, we also want to pay tribute to a tremendous life lost. Yeah, John Madden yesterday lost his life. He was a Hall of Fame coach turned broadcaster, dying at the age of 85. The NFL stated that his death was unexpected and no cause was given. Madden gained fame as a Hall of Fame coach of the Raiders, winning a 759 winning percentage, still the best among NFL coaches with more than 100 games. The namesake of the video game franchise played by millions was known by many and loved by all. Here's Susie Kolber explaining why. What an incredible life. Now, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell had this to say, quote, "On behalf of the entire NFL family, we extend our condolences to Virginia, Mike, Joe, and their families. We all know him as the Hall of Fame coach of the Oakland Raiders and broadcaster who worked for every major network. But more than anything, he was a devoted husband, father, and grandfather. Nobody loved football more than Coach. He was football. He was an incredible sounding board to me and so many others. There will never be another John Madden, and we will forever be indebted to him for all he did to make football and the NFL what it is today." Marcus, Dominique, an incredible legacy he leaves behind. What are your best memories of Madden?
Yeah, I think the most
go ahead, Foxy.
The most kind of outstanding thing that's been resonating for me this morning as we see all these tributes is that if you ask somebody how they remember John Madden, they'll say one of two things, and that's like he was a great broadcaster or their connection to the video game. And it's kind of mind-blowing to talk about his achievements when no one even mentions that he's won a Super Bowl and that he has the best winning percentage of any NFL coach of all time with 10 years as a coach. Like that to me is incredible. And he's going to be around because this game is going to be around, frankly. My 8-year-old son just got the new Madden for Christmas, and I was playing it with him yesterday. And it's just it brings back so many memories for me from college to playing against my friends. So when I was a kid, when we got Madden for Christmas and me and my brother would play all night until my mom would yell for us to go to bed. So it just is connected to our life and remembering watching the Thanksgiving games and how John Madden would make those funny noises and draw on the screen. It like felt new to us. It felt innovative back then, and it was just a lot of fun. And he will be missed, but I don't know how much we can miss him because he's not going to go away. Like he is going to be a part of this game, and his legacy like lives on through the people who do the game and obviously the young kids who are playing the games.
Yeah, no doubt, Foxy. I agree. Listen, first of all, John Madden was the soundtrack to football. That's number one. Yeah. He introduced a whole different audience to the game of football that wouldn't normally tune in or tap in because they just didn't understand the game or didn't realize the little nuances, but a way to explain it. John Madden was the people. He was the commentator for the people. He did things. He did funny things. He took chances in television that at times, even when I got into this business, I thought you had to be super buttoned up and you got to use the right enunciation. You got to be tied up. John Madden was like, look, man, I'm a football coach. I'm a football guy. I'm going to go in the booth with Pat Summerall, who's an icon itself, and I'm going to do what I do. And I think that's what I respect about how he did it the most in his broadcasting career. I wasn't around when John Madden was winning games in the NFL or a championship. I knew about his coaching history. But in order to get, like in a day and age where we throw around these terms very loosely about great, legendary, iconic, like John Madden is the definition of that, along with some other people. But John Madden is the definition of an icon, of a legend. And you heard Foxy talk about a legacy. Legacy's got to outlive you. You got your stuff and the things you've done, the mark that you've left has to outlive your actual natural being on earth. So John Madden was able to accomplish that. And that's really what we consider great, iconic, and legendary. And that's how I'll remember him. I'm sure that a lot of my peers, dudes that are my age, young women that are my age that have been enthralled in football for a long period of time, it's synonymous with John Madden. If you don't know John Madden and you've been around football for a long time, you've missed out on a huge part of what the NFL actually is and what the game is. And to speak about the video game, me and my son still play it. So that lets you know he's iconic.
And that is definitely not going to change. And you could see while both of you were talking, there were a lot of tributes being shown on the screen. Some of the sports greats from all over paying condolences and tribute to a tremendous life loss. So once again, John Madden dead at age 85, but he will definitely not be forgotten. First Take will be right back. All right. So Marcus making it very clear he's not ranking his beloved Cowboys over the Packers. So Neek, who do you think is the best team in the NFC? Is it Dallas or Green Bay? Should we make Marcus eat his words?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should. So I was with Marcus, I think, yesterday morning. And then
put your mic on first before you
start
talking crazy.
Oh, it's not on? Oh, there it is. It's right here. Here it is. Good call.
We're having all types of mishaps right now.
Before you start this dribble.
It's a bad start. I can't win this debate when I don't even got a microphone. But the point I was making was I was with you until I started researching for this show today. And it made me think, as a defensive lineman, not only as a former Cowboy and someone who claims he loves the team, what you need in the playoffs is a front four that can get after the passer. You need that on defense, and you need an offense that can put up points. We have seen this offense put up points. They have quite possibly the best three pass rushers that you can find. Forget the fourth. Throw anybody out there. I'm going to be unblocked if you put me at nose tackle because they're going to have to double Gregory, Lawrence, and then if they put down with it. If you're under pressure, throwing up passes, I think that is the difference maker. I do understand Aaron Rodgers is having an incredible season, another one. That offense is outstanding. But given that the Packers have come off of two very disappointing games, they won both of them, but they were in a dogfight with the Browns, who are none of us think are all that good. The week prior, they barely beat the Ravens. They could have lost if they would have gotten the 2-point conversion. And the Ravens they're fielding guys out of anywhere to start in their secondary just about now. And they are slumping now in a way, but we're not looking at them that way because they managed to win those games. I think at this moment, it feels like the Packers have reached their peak, and it feels like the Cowboys are still getting better. And the defense, particularly that pass rush, is going to be a difference maker in the playoffs because you can't scheme around that. There is no scheme that will protect you if you cannot drop back to pass and feel comfortable.
I hate you, Foxy. I hate you.
Should I come back with the mic?
You're going to butter me up about my team. You're gonna butter up my team and make me feel good about it and try to get me to switch over. But I'm not going to do it because I'm convicted right now about the Green Bay Packers. Listen, the level of consistency, man, from this offense is the reason why I'm still on the Green Bay Packers. We have not seen them have these issues that we saw Dallas have for a number of weeks, even in some wins. Like the Washington football team win a couple weeks ago. No, that's a win, but great. I can't get with that after what we saw previously. Now this past weekend, started to get a little bit of hope, started to think that this offense is going to reascend. But one thing I know about the Green Bay Packers, they not going to really struggle offensively. And I understand what you're saying about Dallas defensive line, but I've seen Aaron Rodgers enough overcome being deficient a number of times this season in order for me to still think that this is the best team in the NFC fully healthy. Now listen, when you look at how we go forward, all right, here's the two things that I want people to think about and the reason why right now I have Green Bay. Green Bay went on the road against Arizona. Dallas about to play Arizona. But Green Bay went there without any of their wide receivers and was able to devise a game plan to beat a team that we thought at that time was the best team in the NFL without Devontae Adams, Lazard, and all of their requisite weapons offensively. The second part of that is when we look at this from a defensive standpoint, yeah, I've hated the way the run game has materialized. But Green Bay turning the football over too offensively. They creating takeaways on defense as well. I think Rashawn Gary has been a phenomenal pass rusher. Kenny Clark in the middle. They may get Zadarius back, Jair Alexander. So right now, Foxy, and it's pain in me to say this, but I got to be real. Like a lot of people get it misconstrued. Charlie didn't introduce me as the damn Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. Sometimes I hate first.
I had to.
Because y'all want to set me up y'all want to set me up to look like. But I keep it honest. The Dallas Cowboys, to me, right now, are the third best team because I haven't consistently seen the offense at the level in which I think they can. On the other hand, I know Green Bay gonna put points on the board. They haven't been sluggish all season long, and they got the best player in the league at the best position this particular year.
Yeah, you're right. But, it's not like Dallas isn't getting back Tyron Smith also. So we're getting back people on Dallas also that are going to make an impact. But I do think that the inconsistency of Dallas's offense, it's something. I'm not saying it's irrelevant. They seem to come back from it. They seem comfortable now. But maybe you're right. But it's not like the Packers haven't been inconsistent on defense. They had us believing for a second that they could play defense. In the last couple weeks, it has not been impressive against bad teams. Those 4 interceptions against Baker Mayfield, I think some of those are Baker's fault. And you saw them able to run the ball at will against the Packers. I think that's going to be an issue. So we're obviously splitting hairs. I don't think you would be shocked if the Cowboys beat the Packers. I wouldn't be shocked if the Packers beat the Cowboys. But if I have to look at this and give,
I want them to.
I know. But I have to look at this and give an honest appraisal. And I know you always going to be honest. I know you're not speaking with your heart. And I know that you aren't just trying to protect yourself. Maybe a little bit. You try to protect yourself from the pain of believing in this. But if you look at these two teams, I think there are more holes on the Packers defense than there are on either the offense or the defense of the Cowboys. I think there are holes in that defense.
I'd agree.
And if the Cowboys continue this offensive, I want to call it an ascent, but it's not. Frankly, it's a regression back to what they were. Like, they were great on offense. They had a few weeks where they weren't great. Yeah. Coming off of an injury of Dak. Now, I would understand if we couldn't explain some of their offensive setbacks, but Dak got
struggles.
Hurt. He's coming back from that injury. He's starting to feel a little better. That's the story that I'm going to believe because it seems like it lines up more with all of a sudden he just forgot how to play. They're going to get Tyron Smith back. I really do believe in this Cowboys team a little bit more than I do in the Packers right now.
So you think that the Cowboys can go further in the playoffs than the Packers?
Yeah, I do, Charlie.
Marcus, you agree with that? Or you still hesitant?
Make sure my mic is on.
Not at the moment. Not at the moment.
Okay,
give me a week or two. Give me a week or two. Not at the moment, though.
We are temporarily removing your cheerleader tag, okay?
Yeah.
We have to. I'm
Can't
so
wear
sorry.
that no more. No pom-poms for you.
Y'all shouldn't have ever had it on there when it comes to kind of projecting, okay? I react to when the Cowboys do well. Great to call me a cheerleader at that point. When it get to projecting, though, I'm gonna tell you what I'm feeling, what I feel. I'm gonna give you my honest opinion. Right now, I got them 3.
You know what? I have a feeling Stephen A., wherever he is right now, is sitting smiling, listening to this. Okay, guys, Green Bay has the Vikings.
He is nervous as hell. He nervous because he got to acknowledge that the Cowboys are good. He nervous. He might have to go clean Mike Irvin's house.
That would be a fun conversation to have. Okay, guys, let's keep it moving because we still have a lot more to get to on First Take. The Colts have been leaning on their MVP Bowl coverage starting at 7 Eastern. And here's some good news for teams. The NFL has adopted a shorter isolation period, cutting it from 10 days to 5 following the CDC's recommendation. So, Dominique, as the former president of the NFLPA, what is your reaction to this news? Do you think that the league is making the right decision doing this?
Well, I think it's important. My role at the union helped me learn pretty quickly that players' health and safety is not at the top of the priority list for the league. So, and I don't mean that as a judgment. It's just they have a priority stack, and making money is at the top of that stack, and somewhere along there, player health and safety is lower in that stack. And I think that's what makes the job of the executive director of the union almost impossible to do, is because that is your job to look out for the player's safety. And in this particular case, you also have to probably fight against some players in that situation. But all you can do in situations like this is trust the medicine and trust the science. And if the CDC has changed their guidelines, then I think it's appropriate for the league to also change their guidelines. So, I don't think there's much to be critical of right here. I'm sure that most of the players are on board with this, but I feel bad for the players who probably are a little uncomfortable and nervous about this, because there's nothing they can do about it. They're going to be exposed to guys who have tested positive sooner than they would have expected to. And those guys have been deemed not contagious, and none of us are scientists and none of us have done the research on it. So you have to trust the CDC. If the CDC says 5 days is enough, then I think it's okay for the players and the union to go along with the 5-day recommendation.
All right, well, definitely some teams got to be happy about this, especially looking at the Colts, for example, because Colts quarterback Carson Wentz, he is unvaccinated, but this change in protocols does leave the door open for him to actually return in time for Sunday's game against the Raiders. 6th-round rookie Sam Ehlinger, he will be in line to make his first career start if Wentz can't go, though. Marcus, you think the Colts need Wentz to make the playoffs?
No, not to make it. They need him in order to try to make a run. But they played the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Raiders, I think the final 2 games to close out. So the Colts are a good football team. That's number one. Carson Wentz has played well in spurts, and he's benefited also from being a part of a team that does things at a very high level. I mean, we can get into Jonathan Taylor, but this offensive line makes life easy for quarterbacks. We saw Phillip Rivers take this team to the playoffs last year, and I know Phillip Rivers is considered a Hall of Famer, and he is, and he's had a phenomenal career. But Phillip Rivers wasn't the greatest thing since sliced bread when he was quarterbacking the Indianapolis Colts in a playoff run. Came a couple plays away from actually advancing to the next round over the Buffalo Bills. So I think Carson's going to have to be that guy nobody else in the building you feel comfortable with once you get in. But these next 2 games, you'll be able to run the football. Defensively, they are elite and play at a very high level. They'll be fine for these next 2 weeks.
Nick, you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. We don't know what type of quarterback Sam Ehlinger is, but we know that this team is based around the run. So they won't ask him to do a whole lot.
Okay, yeah, definitely going to be relying on Jonathan Taylor a bunch, but we know the Raiders, their rush defense has been on point these past few weeks. So hopefully the Colts, my Colts, can still get the job done. Okay, guys, let's keep it moving.
Yeah, they about to get a different animal now, though.
Oh, yeah. All right, still ahead.
It's a different animal.
Oh, man, it has been a fun year right here on First Take. And we have a fun second hour coming up for you, talking Tampa Bay shortly. Can Brady himself overcome the Evans, Godwin, and Fournette injuries and return to the Super Bowl yet again? Also, Booger McFarland joining us to make his CFP picks. Yes, they are Booger's picks. Get it? These jokes just write themselves. And Devontae Adams, not bad, man. Aaron Rodgers. Are they the best football duo of the last 20 years? That debate later this hour. Stay with us. And here we are. Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers clinching the NFC South title with a blowout victory over the Carolina Panthers on Sunday, capturing their first division title since 2007 and giving them back-to-back 11-win seasons for the first time in franchise history. Despite the win, the Bucs are missing some major weapons to finish the season. Godwin, Fournette, and Bernard are all on injured reserve with leg injuries, and Mike Evans landed himself on the COVID-19 list this week after missing the last game with a hamstring injury. All right, we've got a lot piling up right here. Marcus, can Tom Brady and the Bucs overcome all of these injuries and win yet another Super Bowl?
Yes, they can. Listen, when you ask questions about Tom Brady and if he can win, the answer should be yes. Damn it. It should be yes until he leaves, because we all been proven wrong by saying no. He went to Tampa and won the first year. We talked about how, here's what I want people to remember. We talk about how devoid of talent the New England Patriots were the last year with Tom Brady. Do y'all know that team went 12-4? And we on here asking if Tom Brady could win a Super Bowl with Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski still available and Mike Evans potentially coming back, being day-to-day and having that's 3 Hall of Famers on offense. This offensive line is still one of the top offensive lines in the league, except when they play the Saints. So, yeah, Tom Brady can lead the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And when I say lead, I talk more from a psychological standpoint. He's going to have to make the throws and make plays and do all of those things. But the playmakers that he has, from an offensive standpoint and defensively, they're going to have to elevate their level of play like they were able to do last year. The one thing that gives me pause about Tampa in totality, because that's the different conversation of if Tom Brady can lead them. Yeah, he can lead them. Shaq Barrett is out, which I think is a huge issue. Me and Foxy just talked about Dallas and why he thinks they're the best team in the NFC because of the pass rush. Shaq Barrett is a huge loss, like a huge loss. Him and Leonard Fournette, I would put at similar things. But to say that Tom Brady can't do something in the NFL, I think we're being a little bit naive to what he's shown us over the time of his career. And it doesn't have anything to do with Tom Brady. It has everything to do with Antonio Brown being available, Rob Gronkowski being available, Brate being available, and also Mike Evans potentially being available. So I'm good. I'm good with that roster and that talent from an offensive standpoint with Tom Brady.
I don't see it happening, in part because you're talking about all these weapons on offense, and you talked about that 12-4 Patriots team that was pretty good despite not having enough weapons on offense. You're leaving out the defense. Like, the defense led them to the Super Bowl last year. The defense made the plays they needed to advance in every single playoff game until they got to the Super Bowl and then dominated one of the best offenses we've ever seen. That 12-4 Patriots team that Brady was leading, that defense was dominant throughout the course of that year. Like, those are things matter. So while I'm certainly not going to trust AB, as we talked about in the first hour, I'm also concerned about how good this defense really is right now. And Shaq Barrett is a big loss. The injuries and the continuity or lack of continuity in the secondary, another big issue. So I do think that you better get your dogs, man. Your dog's acting wild over there, Mark.
Bro, my dog mad at you for saying that Tom can't lead this team to a Super Bowl. That's what he's mad at. Listen,
he didn't last year. But go ahead.
Foxy, to this point, coming off what you just said, bro. Like, I get it and I understand it because you and I are talking logical football conversation, all right? But we know that there's an intangible that 12 brings to a football team that elevates them in crucial situations, bro. Like, and that's what I'm basing it off of. They are not the best team in the NFC. They are not the best team. They have suffered too many losses and too many injuries. But those things, and I won't equate this to everybody else in the NFL, but we know that Tom Brady figures out a way to do
win. I can't debate
that makes us sit back and be like, how in the hell are they here? So I'm still not out on that yet.
You win. I can't debate magic. Tom Brady magic. So I'm done. I can't debate that.
You can never count out Tom Brady. We know that much. And on Sunday, he's looking to continue his dominance against the Jets. He's 30-7 all-time against the Jets. There's only one other quarterback who has more wins against a single team in NFL history. That would be Brady versus the Bills. He owns all the records, guys. But remember when Tom Brady used to play for New England? Yeah, those were the days because things have certainly changed for the Patriots. They have now dropped 2 straight games after winning 7 in a row, turning around a shaky start to their season. The Pats now tied with the Bills for the top spot in the AFC East. Now, after losing their last 2 in the lead in the division, the Patriots still have a very high chance of making the playoffs, just not with home field advantage. Their chances to win the AFC East have fallen over 60% the last few weeks. Now, Dominique, a few weeks ago, everybody was talking about the Pats being a Super Bowl team, and now they really look much different. So do you think Bill has won his last Super Bowl in New England?
All right. Get ready to tape this and show it when they win the Super Bowl this year. Yeah. The man is about to be 70 years old. He's about to be 70.
We're sorry, Bill.
70. He'll be 70 years old in April. He's had an outstanding career. He had 6 Super Bowls. Super Bowls are hard to win. I know It feels crazy as I'm saying it, but I know it's not crazy to say that the man's only going to win 6 Super Bowls. Like, at some point, it has to stop. Winning Super Bowls is hard to do.
He's saying it got to stop.
It got to stop. It's hard to do. And the things came together for them to win all these Super Bowls. And we are suggesting that somehow it's all going to come together another time. And I don't know, what he got 5 years left coaching? 10? I don't know. He go coach when he's 80? Like, I don't know. At some point, he got to stop.
He probably wants to.
It's got to stop. I think that 6 is enough. Jeez, 6 is enough. It's no more.
It's got to. Foxy, you sound like it can't. I hope he don't get it. I hope he don't get it. He ain't gonna do it. I hope he don't do it.
I'm hating a little bit of hate.
But no,
jealousy.
Man, listen, I know. I think yes. I mean, no, we haven't seen him win his last Super Bowl. And I think about this in this context, right? Bill Belichick is the general manager. And we talked 2 years ago about how bad this team was, how bad the roster was. And obviously they had some COVID issues and players that sat out during the season. But also look at what they have on offense, right? And this is another, I feel like, evaluation year, even though they have kind of become expectations-wise, kind of overcome what a lot of people thought they would be. Mac Jones right now is why the New England Patriots won't win a Super Bowl this year. But I think he got the potential, Foxy. I think he got the potential to be good enough for this football team. And I don't remember the last time that I had a Bill Belichick team with a good defense and a quarterback that can make plays not being contenders. And we know when you get to playoff football, bro, he is one of the hardest coaches to beat. You might have to win a game 3-2. It might be a field goal and a safety that wins the football game.
Scores.
And listen, it's not about if Bill Belichick. We know Bill Belichick doesn't have the best team in the AFC. We know that Bill Belichick don't have the best players, especially at quarterback in the AFC. But he finds himself 1 year removed from making roster changes of getting in the playoffs. And so I think he'll have an opportunity within this next 5-year window to absolutely win another Super Bowl with maturity of his young quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, you're counting on some things to happen. Just because Mac Jones is okay and shows potential does not mean that he's going to turn into Tom Brady. And I mean, or no even doubt. the early versions of Tom Brady when they won Super Bowls solely based on their not solely based on their defense, but mostly because of their defense. Like, that's asking a lot for a young quarterback who's stepped up. He's done almost everything that you can ask for a rookie quarterback up until this point, and he's not afraid of the big moment. Like, he's been in bigger moments than he's been in this league. He's been in bigger moments in college already. So I'm not worried about that. But I guess you are talking about the Brady magic. I'm just talking about just sheer randomness and luck. Like, how much does one man get?
It's hard.
Can't have 6. You can't have 6. He gonna get 7 in 5 years, or he gonna coach till he's 90. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I don't think they win another Super Bowl.
I wouldn't be
in New England.
Foxy. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Bill Belichick was coaching another 10 years. It wouldn't shock me at all. Bro.
You're right. I feel like I lost.
Be rolling out there on one of them little carts.
I feel like I lost both the debates. One to magic, and the next one to like immortality. I guess. Like I can't debate magic and immortality.
Honestly, I am with you, Marcus, on this one. I already said I was with you. Can't count out Tom Brady. You also, we know better. You cannot count out Bill Belichick. So he probably will win another Super Bowl some way, somehow. Okay.
I wanted it to be the last one, but
it is.
Can't say it right now.
You know it's not up to us. Okay, guys, let's keep it moving because we still got more to get to here on First Take. Monica McNutt coming back to the show, and she has the take it. Okay, Perk, the Nets, they're already on top in the East. Also good to see ya. So was it the right decision to bring Kyrie back?
Yes. Look, I'd rather a part-time Kyrie than a no-time Kyrie. And here's why. Let me tell you. For the simple fact that you need a Kyrie Irving when you go on the road in the playoffs. When in the playoffs, your superstar guys and your franchise guys, they help you, they take you home and win you games. On the road, your role players play better at home when you're at home in the playoffs. So when I look at the Kyrie Irving situation, I know it's like, it could mess up the chemistry. Well, I would rather them start to develop it right now and get some type of flow so that guys can get adjusted to Kyrie only being part-time. And look, Kyrie is a special type of talent. And like I said before, you can't replace that. So when you're on the road, you need a guy that could go out there and take the load off of Kevin Durant and James Harden and put up a 40-piece wing dinner Cajun rub.
Monica, what's your response to this?
Perk, you my guy. And you are not wrong when it comes to any of the basketball things that you just mentioned. And yes, Kyrie's talent allows the rules to be bent for him, but I think that this is a bad decision on the part of the Nets in terms of a double standard. This, to me, we are making the assumption that everybody on that Nets roster was cool. I'm going to go get vaccinated, no questions asked. And nobody else felt like, I don't necessarily want to do this, but it is a requirement of my job. Allowing Kyrie to do this, I know that it is a bit altruistic and naive to think that he would be treated just like everybody else. But if I'm a teammate, I do not like this. And I think, Perk, all guys want is an opportunity to compete and earn time on the floor. If I know that I can only earn time when we're playing at home because Kyrie's on the floor otherwise, the basketball part is not the issue that I have here. Yes, Kyrie makes his team better. But to me, this double standard and ultimately giving into something that we know the science backs, this is just not a good look for me. And I don't think that it's worth it. I think it sets a bad precedent, and you're allowing a guy to get away with it. And we've seen across sports that talent trumps all, and this is another example of that. But personally, I am not for this decision.
Well, Monica, this just didn't start with franchise guys get special privileges. We heard about Kawhi Leonard taking helicopters and being late for the plane. I played with a whole lot of Hall of Famers that came in and practiced when they wanted to and didn't practice and the way they went about the game. But this is what happens when you get paid the big bucks. When you're a role player and you're a superstar, look, you don't get held to the same standard. And this has been before the vaccination, Monica. So, look, at the end of the day, I get it. In a perfect world, in my opinion, I would want everybody to get vaccinated. But look, everybody in the NBA is not even vaccinated. Kyrie's just getting pointed out because he plays for a New York team, he's in the state of New York. But if he was on any other team besides a California team like the Golden State Warriors, he would be allowed to play like a Bradley Beal before he got vaccinated, I believe, 2 days ago. So when you're at a superstar talent, it's part of it. You get treated like a superstar. If you want to get treated like a superstar, all I can tell you is go work on your game.
So, okay, Perk. By the way, I love the suit, by the way. Where you looking real sort of Easter fresh. I love the suit. Here's the deal, though. I will give you the superstar status. But I am not sold that this is going to be, or not have, I should say, if I can use the term, side effects in terms of what the Brooklyn Nets want to do. Yes, Patty Mills is a veteran in this league, understands his role. They want to win championships. KD obviously is the head of the snake. James Harden is tremendous. But I just don't buy that this is going to be, hunky-dory, Kyrie plays on the road, and now we're going to win a championship. I just don't think that in terms of team chemistry and everybody working toward the same things, I don't think that this works out, Perk. I just don't think that it works out.
Perk, do you think
Monica,
that...
you tell... Go ahead, Charlie.
Okay, I was going to ask you if you think that the Nets are now the favorite in the East, but you can go ahead and finish your thought and then answer my question.
Yeah, but look, here's the thing. If you think for 1 second that they haven't had a meeting or came together in the locker room between KD and James Harden and all the other veterans and asked them about bringing Kyrie Irving back, Monica, you tripping. So you know that this had to go by at least Kevin Durant and some of the other veterans before making this decision. And with Kyrie Irving coming back part-time, the way that Kevin Durant was playing before he went in protocol, Charlie, the way that James Harden is looking right now these past 2 games, if you get Kyrie part-time, yes, the Nets are the favorite of coming out of the Eastern Conference.
All right. Well, last year they were 36-18 with Kyrie, 12-6 without him. So he's definitely going to be a big relief for those guys. Definitely going to be nice to see the big three back together. That's for sure. And we do have a lot more to come here on First Take. And before we get to that, Perk, I want to say thank you for joining us. Thanks so much for contributing your insight and your time. We always love seeing you.
No problem.
And now with heavy hearts, we do want to report that ESPN also lost one of our very own yesterday. Jeff Dickerson, a longtime fixture at ESPN covering the Chicago Bears, passed away at age 44 after battling with colon cancer. His wife, Caitlin, died just 2 years ago, also of cancer, and he's survived by his 11-year-old son, Parker. First Take will be right back. And we're only a couple of days away from the college football playoff semifinal games when number 1 Alabama takes on number 4 Cincinnati in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl, and number 2 Michigan faces off against number 3 Georgia in the Capital One Orange Bowl. Alabama defensive end Will Anderson surprised us all when discussing his team facing Cincinnati. Listen.
To me, I still feel like we're the underdog in this game. I mean, you know, all year we have been disrespected. I'm pretty sure we're still probably getting disrespected out there.
Okay, let's welcome in ESPN college football analyst Booger McFarland. Booger, we got a lot of laughs on the show yesterday when we heard Anderson's quotes, you know, disrespected, they're the underdogs, because really they're favored in this matchup. But I want to ask you, how can Cincinnati manage to somehow pull off the upset against Alabama?
Well, first of all, I don't think they can. And if we're going to create a pathway, I guess you would have to start with turnovers, because turnovers are the great equalizer in football. Somehow their defense and special teams are going to have to make some plays, create some turnovers, get some sacks on Bryce Young. We've seen that offense vulnerable. I know we're all prisoners of the moment, and we all remember what Alabama and Georgia did in Atlanta and how explosive that Alabama offense looked. But I tell you to go back a few weeks and watch Alabama against LSU. Watch Alabama against Auburn. That offense was sacked over double-digit times combined in those games. And so I think you can get after the Alabama offense if you can attack their protections and get Bryce Young on the ground. But that's a tall task. I think Nick Saban's team is going to be laser-focused. And I respect the heck out of Luke Fickell and what they do at Cincinnati. But I just think it's a tall task for Cincinnati to beat Alabama this weekend.
Okay, well, let's talk about Bryce Young, the Heisman winner, coming off a stellar performance against Georgia's vaunted defense. Meanwhile, Cincy quarterback Desmond Ridder has put up stellar numbers this season as well. So which quarterback do you believe will have the bigger impact in the game?
Well, if you're Cincinnati, it's got to be Desmond Ridder. But I think it's going to be hard to go against the Heisman Trophy winner, Bryce Young. His poise, Charlie, is just outstanding. You know, people marvel at the throws that he makes down the field, and they marvel at how he's able to create and get out of the pocket. But for me, it's the poise that he plays with. For a kid so young, he never panics. And I think that's the one thing that if you're a young player out there and you watch this game in Dallas, just watch Bryce Young. Watch how he never panics. The moment is never too big for him, and he always stays calm and makes the right play. Now, on the flip side, if you're Cincinnati, you know, we've seen teams beat Alabama before, not only this year, but in the past. And your quarterback has to be dynamic. That guy has to be a playmaker, a dual threat guy. Think Johnny Manziel, a guy that ran the football, make throws down the field. If your quarterback can be dynamic and do that, but most importantly, not turn the football over, then your team will have a chance.
Okay, now let's focus on the Michigan-Georgia semifinal matchup. The quarterback position, something everyone's really been examining. Georgia's Stetson Bennett has led the Bulldogs through most of the season, but he did struggle in their loss against Alabama. So how confident should Georgia fans be with Bennett leading the Dogs against Michigan's defense?
Well, I think it's a defense that if you ask Kirby Smart in his heart of hearts, I think he feels like he can run the football against Michigan. And because if he can't, he's going to have to turn the ball over to Stetson Bennett and throw the football. And I think all of Dog Nation is kind of terrified by that. I look for Georgia to come out and try to establish the run with White and Cook and get back to playing Georgia football, the physicality at the line of scrimmage, controlling the middle of the field with Bowers. If they can do that, now they can throw the football when they want to throw it. And when you can do that against Alabama and how he looked outmatched, Stetson Bennett looked like the moment was too big for him. He didn't look quite like Ian Book for the New Orleans Saints
Oh,
Monday night,
please.
but it was pretty close. So, yeah, exactly. And so if you're the Georgia faithful, you got to hope that the run game can get going, because then you can dictate and control tempo. And now all the Georgia faithful, including one L. Duncan, will be a lot more comfortable watching that game.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Al. Definitely would be more comfortable. Now, Booger, both of these teams known for physicality, specifically Michigan's rushing attack facing off against Georgia, celebrated front seven on defense. So which squad, Booger, has the advantage when the Wolverines offense takes on the Dogs defense?
Well, to me, if you're a lineman like myself or Swagoo or Jeff Saturday, like, to me, this is what you come to see. A team in Michigan that won the Joe Moore Award, which is given to the most outstanding offensive line in the country. So they are really, really good. When your coach is Jim Harbaugh and you major in running the football, your offensive line better be good. But think about what Georgia does best. I mean, Jordan Davis is 6'10" and 380 pounds. Like, it's tough to move him. He's one of the best defensive players in the country. He's anchoring a run defense that nobody has ran the football against. So when you talk about styles making fights, think about the Michigan offensive line, who's regarded as the best in the country, against Jordan Davis and that defensive line and that linebacking crew of Georgia and Nakobe Dean. To me, I don't want to see any other side of the ball. I'm going to have my popcorn ready when Michigan has the football. And I would tell you, put the women and children in bed, because the men are going to step up, and it is going to be a dogfight in those trenches.
Ooh, a dogfight. We love to hear that. Okay, Booger, we cannot wait for Friday. Should be a very exciting game of a couple exciting games of football. And we want to thank you so much for joining us here on First Take ahead of that.
Anytime. Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
All right. And it is the